All right, moving over to this bantamweight scrap now. We got Colby Thicknessse coming in at -135, going up against Vince Morales, who comes in at +115. Now, Thicknessse is coming off of I believe it was a bit of an upset win over Josias Musasa, and I believe that fight was back in January. Could be off on that, but it was in September. But that was a fight where he utilized a solid grappling game to pull away in that fight. His footwork helped him stay away from Musasa's power, even leading to Thicknessse winning that second round just off of his striking alone. But in rounds 1 and round 3 is where we really saw him start to get to his grappling, and that kept Musasa in some bad spots. Thicknessse is a training partner of Alexander Volkanovski, and I think that kind of helped him get to the UFC in the first place, especially with them putting that storyline of Topuria against Volkanovski, and then Thicknessse against Topuria's brother, Alexandre Topuria. But we saw, that night, kind of the ceiling of Thicknessse. I'm not overly impressed with his regional wins either. A lot of those guys were very low level, especially the last 3 opponents that he faced that he was able to finish. Obviously, that helped him, get him to the UFC, but I don't know if he's really deserving of being at this level. The win over Musasa, good for him to stay away from the knockout power of Musasa, but I really believe that also showed how raw and how green Musasa really is as well, and Thicknessse had the perfect game plan to go out there and execute to get the win there. Now, he's going up against a UFC vet here in Vince Morales, who I'm very happy that the UFC is giving him this 4th shot, even though he's coming off of a 3-fight losing streak, right? Look at the names that he's losing to. Taylor Lapilus, very tough matchup for almost anybody. Elijah Smith had a lot of success in that fight, right? Momentum really seemed to be in his favor going into the 3rd round, but then he got clipped with a big shot to open that 3rd round, and he was left reeling for the rest of that round. And then the Raul Rosas Jr. fight. Loses the first 2 rounds, has some big success in the 3rd round, but runs out of time and is unable to get his hand raised there. But in between his 2 UFC stints, he had that solid 5-fight winning streak, finishing 4 of those opponents as well. 2 of those opponents being former UFC fighters in Hunter Azure and who was it? Ishihara, I believe the guy's name was. Solid wins, has shown a love for the submission game as well. He caught Raul Rosas Jr. in a couple close submission attempts as well, but he loves that Peruvian necktie. He loves that front choke series, and he's been able to catch a lot of those opponents, outside of the UFC in those spots. He's a solid striker. He has a win over Ayman Zahabi, who's obviously having a career run right now as well, going into his White House fight against Sean O'Malley. Morales is a solid fighter. He just needs the right matchup to actually go out there and showcase that he can perform at this level. And I honestly think this is a great spot for him to actually get his first win in the UFC in a long time. So going up against Colby Thicknessse here, I think Thicknessse, maybe his footwork could help him outpoint Morales here, but I think Morales is going to be aggressive enough. I think he'll know, have the veteran experience to cut off the cage to keep Thicknessse away from just sticking and moving. And then once this gets into the grappling realm, I think Morales is the better grappler as well. So to see Morales as an underdog, when I originally started this matchup, he was about +145. Now he's at +115. I think people are starting to realize, hey, even though Morales is winless in the UFC thus far, in this current run that he's on, he is still a very tough out for a guy in Thicknessse who hasn't really been fighting the toughest strength of schedule. And when he does, he comes up short. And it's only been one time. But still, I think Morales is, between Alexander Topuria and Josias Musasa, more so on the side of being able to beat a guy like Colby Thicknessse. So I like Morales here. I think we're going to see him very aggressive with his submission game as well. And I think that will lead to Morales winning this fight by submission.